All right, this is the walkthrough for Friday's assignments. We have 5 questions. I think we'll do 2 of them fully, but we'll set the other ones up and you guys will be able to solve them. So the first one here says Miss Green tells you that a right triangle has a hypotenuse of 13 and a leg of 5. She asks you to find the other leg of the triangle. So you have a right triangle, which is a triangle with a right angle. The hypotenuse is 13, so the hypotenuse, right, is the side across from the right angle. So that's going to be this side here. And a leg of 5. So both of these sides that are adjacent to the right angle are your legs, right? Remember, in a right triangle, you have the hypotenuse, which is across from the right angle, the longest side. And then adjacent to the right angle are your 2 legs. So these are going to be our legs. So it tells us one of the legs is 5. It doesn't matter which one you put. And then we want to find the other one here. Okay, so what we've done before, if we have a right triangle and we're looking for sides, right, if you have 2 sides and you want to find the third side, you're going to use the Pythagorean theorem. The Pythagorean theorem, remember, was a squared plus b squared equals c squared. Okay, where a and b were the legs, right? A and b were your legs. And then c was your hypotenuse. So in this case, our 2 legs were x and 5. So we're going to do x squared plus 5 squared equals our hypotenuse squared, which is 13. Right? We keep x squared as is. 5 squared is 25. And 13 squared is 169. Okay, if we subtract 25 from both sides, we're left with x squared equals 144. To get rid of a square, we do the inverse operation, which is a square root. And then square root of 144 is 12. So x is going to equal plus or minus 12. Okay, but we're dealing with distance, so you can't have a negative. So we really just want the positive distance here, which is going to be 12 units or whatever the units are there. Okay. So right triangle, you're using the Pythagorean theorem. Your legs are your sides that are next to the right angle, and your hypotenuse is across from the right angle. A and B are going to be your legs, and C is your hypotenuse. So leg squared plus leg squared equals hypotenuse squared. Right, the next one says 2 joggers run 8 miles north and 5 miles west. So they run 8 miles this way. Wasn't very straight. Right? And then they run 5 miles west. Okay, and we want to know the shortest distance they traveled when they go from where they are back to the starting point. They must travel to return to their starting point. So that's going to be this piece here. Well, we know north and west, it's going to form a right angle. So we have a right triangle, right? And we're looking for this distance here. So your legs are your A and B, right? So A squared plus B squared equals C squared. Right, your legs are adjacent to your right angles, and then your hypotenuse C is across from. So 5 and 8 are your A and your B, and then X is going to be your C, and then you need to solve for X in that equation. Okay, Oscar's doghouse is shaped like a tent. The slanted sides are both 5 feet long, and across the bottom is 6. So there's your tent, 5, 5, and then 6. Okay, what is the height of his doghouse in feet at its tallest point? So if we draw a line here to represent the height, okay, and call it X, that's what we're trying to find. Okay, if we drop an altitude like this, though, this is going to be a right angle. And since these heights, these slants are both 5 and 5, we're bisecting the bottom. So the pieces here are going to be 3 and 3. So really, right, because you're splitting this 6 in half. 6 is the whole bottom, and you're splitting in half to 3 and 3. So the triangle we're really looking at is a right triangle where the hypotenuse is 5 and the legs are going to be x and 3. And again, you're going to use a squared plus b squared equals c squared. In this case, 3 and x are going to be your a and your b, and 5 is going to be your c, your hypotenuse. Okay. 14 is very similar to 12. You're going from point A to B. You must avoid walking through a pond. To avoid the pond, you must walk 34 meters south. 34 meters south. And then you want to go 41 meters east. Okay, to the nearest meter, how many meters would be saved if it were possible to walk through the pond? So that means we're going straight directly from point A to B. Right, here was A, here was B. We're going directly from A to B instead of going south and west. Right, so we're looking for that distance there, which we're going to call x. Right, again, if you're going south and east, that's going to form a right angle. So the legs here are going to be 34 and 41, and your hypotenuse is going to be x. So 34 squared plus 41 squared is going to equal x squared. All right, 15, we're going to do the whole thing here together. You're looking, you have a suitcase which measures 24 inches long, and the diagonal is 30 inches. How much material is needed to cover one side of the suitcase? So if we draw our suitcase, okay, it's 24 inches long. The diagonal here is 30. Okay, and a suitcase is a rectangle, presumably. All right, we're assuming that we have 4 right angles. Right, it's a rectangle. And then we want to find the material needed to cover the suitcase. So that means we need to find the area of that side of the suitcase, and the area for a rectangle is length times width. Okay, all we have right now is the length. We're going to need to find the width first. So let's put an x for our width. Right, and again, the triangle we're looking at here has a right angle here. The hypotenuse is 30. And then your legs are x and 24. So again, we're using the Pythagorean theorem, a squared plus b squared equals c squared, because we have a right triangle. Whenever you have 2 sides of a right triangle and you want to find the third side, you're always using the Pythagorean theorem. Okay, so the 2 legs are x and 24, so we're going to do x squared plus 24 squared equals 30 squared. Okay, 24 squared, I don't know, 24 times 24, 576 it said, right? Yep, 576. $30 times 30 is going to be 900. Okay. Subtract 576 from both sides. We're going to get x squared equals 324. Okay. To get rid of a square, we have to do the inverse operation, which is square root. I want to say 18. So, right, 30 times 30 was 900. And we subtracted 576. And then we wanted to take the square root of that. And it was, in fact, 18. Okay, so x equals, which really plus or minus 18, but since we're dealing with distance, you can't have a negative distance. So it's going to be positive 18. So then our length and our width are 24 and 18. So if we want to find the area of the suitcase, we're going to do 24 times 18. which is 432. And that is in inches. So it's going to be inches squared. Okay, so we had a suitcase. They gave us the diagonal, which is the hypotenuse of the right triangle. We used the Pythagorean theorem, a squared plus b squared equals c squared, to find the width. Once we found the width, we could find the area, because area of a rectangle is length times width. So it's going to take 432 inches squared of material to cover that side of the suitcase. All right, so you have 2 of the problems fully written out. And then we set up the other 3, so you just need to finish those. And then we are good for Friday's assignment. Again, Google Meet will be at 7:30 or upon request. And you can always email or text me on Remind all day.